September 5th, 1940. Platform 6, King's Cross Station, London. A shrill whistle cuts through the chill autumn air as ARP wardens in steel helmets and gas mask tinsels bark orders into megaphones. Thick coal smoke churns overhead, mingling with the acrid tang of fear. You can hear it in the tremor of children's voices, sniffs, sobs, and the restless shuffle of small boots across gravel. Cradled in her mother's arms, 8-year-old Anya Whitaker clutches a battered suitcase stamped with a bright yellow E for evacuee. Beside her, 10-year-old Max Llewellyn straightens the straps of his gas mask box, eyes wide beneath tousled copper hair. Station Master Hayes paces along the platform, his baton tapping a steady rhythm against the iron rails. He watches families huddle around battered carriages, mothers adjusting knitted shawls, fathers offering stiff salutes before disappearing into the night. Anya's mother, Mary, presses a crumpled photograph into her daughter's hand. Two siblings in ragged school uniforms, smiles frozen in happier times. "Be brave, my darling. Write every week," she whispers, voice catching on the roar of a departing locomotive. Overhead, floodlights cast long shadows across the concrete, ghostly silhouettes of evacuees merging with the army of gray-coated soldiers standing guard. In the distance, the intermittent crack of anti-aircraft guns punctuates the hush, a grim reminder that every train pulling out of London risks igniting the fury of Hitler's Luftwaffe. Station workers, donning armbands reading Ministry of Home Security, help children board each carriage by number. Car 12 for Staffordshire, Car 18 for Norfolk, Car 24 for Lancashire. Inside the cramped compartment, Max slides onto a wooden bench beside Anya. He fiddles with a brass compass, his father's last gift before boarding the Merchant Navy convoy, and traces the needle with a trembling finger. Through the smudged window, the darkened city stretches out like a wounded beast, its skyline jagged with ruin. Anya presses her forehead to the glass, blinking rapidly to hold back tears. The platform's roar softens. The final call echoes, "All aboard for Crewe and Stafford!" Outside, a group of 6-year-olds clutches each other's hands, eyes hollow beneath hand-stitched bonnets. Each child bears a label pinned to their lapel: name, birth date, destination address. The labels glint in the lantern light, tiny beacons of hope against the gathering dusk. A volunteer teacher, Miss Evelyn Thompson, gathers her 6 pupils and counts them off. 1, 2, 3. Their faces betray a mix of defiance and despair. In the guards' van at the rear, Corporal James Jimmy Walker, Royal Army Service Corps, scribbles names into a ledger by lantern light. His woolen gloves are damp with condensation. "Right, you lot," he murmurs, voice hushed but firm. "We're off in 2 minutes. Keep your gas masks handy and stay low if we've got to duck and cover." One boy, clutching a battered teddy bear, asks Walker, "Sir, will Mum and Dad be there to meet me?" Walker's gaze drifts to the photograph pinned inside his cap. His own sister evacuated to Scotland last month. He clears his throat and answers, "They'll be waiting, lad. They're expecting you." Back on the platform, Mary Whitaker flings one last glance at her daughter, heart pounding. A bomb siren wails somewhere beyond the station walls. She grips Anya's hand. "I love you." "I love you too, Mom." Then the wheels grind, the locomotive shudders, and the train lurches forward. Mary stands frozen, arms outstretched until the carriage is out of sight, her silhouette swallowed by smoke and steel. As the train picks up speed, the flash of searchlight sweeps across the rooftops, revealing the skeletal frame of St. Pancras rising behind them. Inside the carriage, children press against the doors, peering into the darkness. Max slides the compass back into his pocket, resolving to guide Anya home someday. Miss Thompson begins to hum a wartime lullaby, a soft counterpoint to the rattling wheels. In unison, the evacuees lean together, forging a new, fragile family in the belly of the train hurtling away from everything they've ever known. The platform recedes, the lights of London shrink to pinpricks. Beyond the window, countryside unfurls in inky folds, fields hedged by moonlight, silent hamlets waiting to host these restless ghosts of the Blitz. Somewhere ahead lies Staffordshire, strangers' homes, unfamiliar beds, and the promise of safety. But for these children, each mile carries a weight heavier than steel. October 6th, 1940. Staffordshire County Rail Station, late morning. Mud-spattered boots clatter against the platform's wooden boards as evacuees spill onto the cold, dew-frosted ground. Overhead, a battered iron canopy drips with condensation. You can taste the crisp autumn air, punctuated by the faint whinny of a distant horse and the low rumble of a farmer's cart. A cluster of War Agricultural Committee volunteers stands by a battered notice board. Dozens of typed slip-ups list child's name, age, and host family address. Each slip flutters in the breeze like mournful prayer flags. Corporal James Walker tightens his grip on the squadron ledger. Miss Evelyn Thompson huddles beside him, her breath rising in cloudy wisps. 23 children to Stoke-on-Trent, she murmurs, voice thick with responsibility. The rest get scattered among the villages. A line of children, shivering, wide-eyed, form behind them, clutching gas masks and rumpled postcards addressed to Dear Mother. You watch Anya and Max link hands, shoulders hunched against the chill. An elderly station master, Mr. Harold Jennings, strides forward with a clipboard. His tweed coat hangs heavy with rain, and his bowler hat is pinned askew atop a head of curling white hair. "Llewellyn! Maximus!" he calls, scanning the list. "Carter household, village of Lower Teuton, 12 miles north." He jabs a gnarled finger at a card. Max steps forward, stomach knotting. His compass dangles from his finger like a lifeline. This is my stop?" he whispers. Jennings nods, then claps him on the shoulder. "They'll take good care of you, lad." Anya's name comes second. "Whittaker, Anastasia," Jennings reads, brow furrowed. He looks up, eyes flicking to Walker. "Whittaker, here's yours." Walker places a gentle hand on Anya's shoulder. "Give 'em a smile, Anya. They've all been expectin' you." She nods, chest tight, and follows Max toward a battered steam lorry idling nearby. The journey to Lower Teuton winds through waterlogged fields and hedgerows stripped bare. Anya presses her cheek to the icy window, watching as distant farms appear between mist-clad oaks. Max stares at his reflection, pale and young under the lorry's single headlight. Between them hums the drone of the engine, an uneasy lullaby. At last, the lorry grinds to a halt in front of a moss-covered farmhouse ringed by stone walls. A stout woman in a patched wool cardigan and flour-dusted apron waits on the doorstep, Mrs. Florence Carter, host mother. Beside her stands Mr. Arthur Carter, in muddy boots and a flannel shirt. Their lined faces carry the weight of 2 sons fighting in France. Mrs. Carter forces a smile, voice steady but eyes cavernous. "Anastasia, welcome. Come in, dear." Inside, a single oil lamp casts golden pools of light across scuffed floorboards. The air smells of peat smoke and stewing turnips. Anya steps over a fringed hearthrug and spots 6-year-old Arthur Jr., who peers at her from behind his mother's skirt. The child's freckles stand out in the lamplight. A threadbare jumper droops from his shoulders. He offers Anya a shy nod. She tries to smile back, but her stomach churns like a storm-tossed sea. Mrs. Carter ushers her into a spare room, a narrow bed topped with a faded patchwork quilt. On the bedside table sits a chipped teacup and a cracked photograph of the 2 Carter boys in uniform. The quilt is clean, but its stitches are worn. Anya sets down her battered suitcase and runs her fingers over the quilt's frayed seams, imagining the hands that pieced it. "This is safe," Mrs. Carter says softly. "We'll keep you warm." 20 miles away, Max steps onto the dusty lane of Lower Tooten Village with his lorry mate Thomas Gray, a 13-year-old evacuee from Coventry. Thomas's eyes dart at every blackberry hedge, as though the Luftwaffe might swoop down at any moment. "They say the Carter kids have free range of the orchards," Thomas whispers, voice hushed. "We'll pick apples after school." Max forces a grin, though his thoughts drift back to his own father, late-night stories of convoy voyages and mermaid charts. He wonders if home is already a distant shore. Miss Thompson, who has journeyed in the lorry's cab, lingers by the farm gate. She beckons Max over for one last word. "Write on Sunday. I'll collect your letters next week." She straightens the collar of his greatcoat and places a warm hand on his arm. "We're a team now. Stay brave." Max nods, swallowing a lump of fear. Back in the farmhouse kitchen, Mrs. Carter fills a chipped bowl of porridge and brandy, good for the nerves, she claims. Anya sits at the pine table, spoon hovering, reluctant to taste. Outside, the wind whistles through the eaves. She thinks of Mary's tear-stained face and the echo of her mother's final words, "I love you." A single tear slips down her cheek as she takes a small bite, determined to find safety in each new sunrise. But not every name is called. Lena Becker, a Jewish girl from Hamburg who fled to Britain via the Kindertransport, grows listless when no word comes from her brother, sent to a Dutch farm. She threads a new postcard through freezing fingers, eyes hollow. "Maybe tomorrow," she whispers. Each tomorrow a surrender to grief. Outside, the wind carries the distant rumble of Lancaster bombers on training runs. Anya and Max exchange glances as they brace against the cold. In their chests, letters lie like fragile embers, sometimes bright enough to warm them, often flickering under the weight of silence. Yet through each envelope passed, each name whispered from the pulpit, a tenuous bridge forms. Words inked in hope span counties and seas, binding children in host homes with parents lost to the Blitz, internment, or war's unrelenting tide. With every postmark, they learn that connection can survive the thrum of engines, the glare of floodlights, and the hush that follows a letter's final line. December 24, 1940. Carter Farmhouse Kitchen, Lower Tooten, pre-dawn hush. Before sunrise, the farmhouse is alive with whispered preparation. Mrs. Carter kneels by the hearth, stoking logs until the flames crackle like distant gunfire. You can smell peat smoke mingling with cinnamon from a pot of stewing apples. Anya Whitaker, wrapped in her thin gray coat, pins a sprig of holly above the mantel, its crimson berries bright against soot-dark beams. Down the corridor, Max Llewellyn adjusts a string of homemade paper chains, red and green loops fashioned from ration coupons. In the barn, Thomas Gray tends a borrowed sheep's fleece hung above the stalls, turning it into fodder for a makeshift Yule goat. He hums Good King Wenceslas under his breath, voice tentative yet determined. In the dim stall light, his breath steams as he sews scraps of fabric together. When Anya and Max arrive, he offers them stitched ears. "For Christmas," he says shyly, handing each a woolly headband. "We'll pretend the goats come to life." Back in the kitchen, Mrs. Carter fills chipped saucers with porridge and a drop of brandy for the adults, a thimble of milk for the children. The oil lamp casts golden halos across the pine table. Anya lifts her spoon, her breath catching as she tastes warmth that isn't fear. Max watches her, compass in pocket, then digs into his own bowl. Outside, the wind rattles the windows, an ever-present reminder that heaven's fires can fall as easily as stars. At midday, Reverend Thomas Green arrives with a battered suitcase of hymnals and candles. He blesses the gathering. Though families be parted by steel and flame, our hearts remain bound in Christmastide. He lights a beeswax taper, its glow soft on tear-stained cheeks. Anya clasps her hands, eyes closing. She pictures her mother, kneeling by the same chaplain's words in London's ruined parish hall. Somewhere beyond snow-laced fields, Mary Whittaker bows her head beneath a bowed cross. After prayers, the children exchange small gifts: a carved wooden whistle for Max, fashioned by Mr. Carter from barn scraps, and a patchwork rag doll for Anya, stitched by Mrs. Carter while the weather held at dawn. Each gift holds the weight of kindness and loss. When Anya unwraps her doll, it rocks limply in her arms, its stitched smile both comforting and bittersweet. She presses it to her cheek, imagining her mother's arms at home. By late afternoon, a throng gathers for a communal Christmas Eve banquet. Plum pudding steamed under cloth, boiled potatoes tossed in margarine, and a single slice of cherries. The Carter table, worn by harvests and hardship, groans beneath rationed extravagance. At each place, a small paper crown tops a glued-together holly sprig. Mr. Carter taps his spoon for silence. To our sons at the front, and to these precious evacuees who remind us what we fight to protect. Cups rise and clink. Outside, church bells over the village clang amidst the blackout, their echoes swallowed by the night. Meanwhile, in London's East End, Mary joins a group of ARP wardens at St. Mark's underground shelter. Flickering candles reveal weary faces, mothers, fathers, widows, all clutching stockings embroidered with their children's initials. By lantern light, Mary pins Anya's holly sprig to her own coat lapel. Every so often, the shelter shakes with a distant blast. Each rumble threads through her chest like a splinter. She closes her eyes, reciting lines from her daughter's letters. "I miss your lullaby at night."